Hello, you're listening to From the Clay to Zama. I'm your host, Karen Miller. This podcast is about the adventures and travels of two women from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, who work for the U.S. Army at Zama, Japan. Their stories are told through hundreds of letters written home. Episode 20, The Three Companions of Man, letters 54 to 56. I did a little checking into the economic situation that was referenced in episode 18 and then later in this episode. There's a fairly hard economic recession that hit the U.S. during the second half of 1953. It didn't take long for Bern and Peg and the civilian employees at Zama to feel the effects of it. It was kind of like party's over for civilian employees. I don't think many of you have heard about this, so I thought I would throw this out. I actually did know this one before. There's an urban legend about how Frank Sinatra got the role in From Here to Eternity. His career had taken a downturn. He was no longer hip and cool, and he really was having a lot of trouble getting any jobs. So this was from this urban legend developed as a result of a passage in Mario Puzo's novel, The Godfather, in which the producer's mind about a casting choice is made up for him when the mafia have him waking up in bed next to the severed head of his favorite horse. This rumor has been shot down by the director of From Here to Eternity, who said that the legend about a horse's head having been cut off is pure invention, poetic license on the part of Mario Puzo, who wrote The Godfather. A more plausible explanation for the casting of the music personality in this dramatic role is offered by Kitty Kelly in her Sinatra biography. She says it was actress Ava Gardner, Sinatra's wife at the time, who persuaded producer Harry Cohn's wife to use her influence with him. This explanation is also the one given in multiple Ava Gardner biographies that I've read. I'm a huge fan of the late actress. I met Ava Gardner in 1983 when she was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, visiting her sister, Mrs. Pierce. I worked with Mrs. Pierce's husband at Andrew's Pharmacy, and I was, a high school. I was the cashier at the store. I said something to my boss one day about how beautiful Mrs. Pierce was, and he said, "Well, you know whose sister she was?" And I was like, "She is," and I was like, "No." And he goes, "Well, you probably don't know who this is, but Ava Gardner." And I just totally fanned out on that. I was already a big fan of hers. My grandmother was a huge fan. We used to talk about Frank Sinatra and Ava Gardner, Mickey Rooney, Artie Shaw. So I knew it all. Anyway, she came in one day and was just gorgeous and sweet. It was truly a memorable experience for me as a 16-year-old. She chatted with me for quite a while, and just her making the effort to come to the store to see me because she heard I was a fan, something I've never forgotten. So always been a big fan of hers. I also have one of my friends, my current friends, her mother grew up with Ava Gardner. So proud North Carolinian. Let's get started with letter 54. That was written by Bern on the 15th of November, 1953. Dear folks, what a wonderful, extravagant, foolish, thoroughly satisfying shopping spree for your youngest child and I. Saturday morning, bright and early, I mailed the last Christmas package home, and then we started out, dressed rather sharp too, because we expected to go to Tokyo. Peggy had her plaid suit, light coat, and black tam. I wore my gray wool dress and a real darling broadcloth shorty coat, which our friend Vi Domenecki gave me. She was tired of it. I had a huge, and I mean huge, yellow chrysanthemum fastened to the shoulder of the coat, and several people during the course of the day commented on how nice it looked. Several young Japanese waitresses said, "Sticky ni," meaning, "Isn't that nice? Pretty." Anyhow, on the way to the train station, we both decided that Tokyo is too big and noisy and exhausting to do any satisfactory shopping. So we stayed on the bus to go into Yokohama. We headed immediately for Monomachi Street, which is really an alley 4 or 5 blocks long, lined by a better class of Japanese shops of all kind. After looking at brass lamps, furs, silver articles of all kinds, dishes, etc., we settled down to buying a few pieces of costume jewelry. I bought 2 pairs of silver earrings and a necklace. Peg bought earrings and a pin. Then we really did it. We walked across the street to Mikomoto Mikomoto Pearl Shop, whose reputation for integrity and quality of merchandise is the best around. And we each bought a pearl ring. Not anything to compare to the Hope Diamond, of course, but nevertheless, sheer luxury for gals in our income bracket. Mine contains 3 gray pearls set in platinum, and Peggy's is a solitaire in a beautiful curved gold band. We still look at each other in amazement and wonder why we did it. But we're not a bit sorry, and in a way, it compensates for some of the not-so-nice things about life here in Japan. In the afternoon, we went to a Japanese theater and saw From Here to Eternity. That is a really powerful picture about Army life, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Frank Sinatra surprised me by his outstanding performance. He was perfect in the role. The last part of the picture is about the attack on Pearl Harbor, and I looked around me at the Japanese audience to see if I could see signs of bitterness or hate or disgust. However, they were all carefully impassive as usual. But when Burt Lancaster made some comment in defiance of the planes and said, "Who do they think they're fighting? We've got the best darned army in the world," several people sitting on Peggy's side of the theater gave low guttural growls, which is a characteristic Japanese sign of displeasure or anger. As far as I'm concerned, these people cannot be trusted. In spite of better economic circumstances, because we are here, they would like nothing better than for us to pull up stakes and get out. I think it's only human nature for them to feel that way, and the fact they do such a successful job at hiding their feelings only makes me that much more cautious about them. I skipped church yesterday because Seaman and Mrs. Jones picked me up at noon to go to a football game. I felt kind of guilty, but transportation and travel out here in the country are quite a chore, and it was either go by car with them or stay home for the whole day. It was too beautiful a day to stay indoors, so off I went. What a game! It was between 2 arms of the Navy, and the rivalry was comparable to William Penn High School versus Harris, the 2 high schools in Harrisburg. My team, the Atsugi Flyers, won 18-13 in an action-packed thriller, which was terrific. After the game, we were invited to the home of Sergeant and Mrs. Patton for supper. Of course, I didn't refuse, and it was so good to be in a home and eat home-cooked food. Both Mr. and Mrs. Patton cooked, and I don't know who was responsible for which dish, but everything was delicious. Daddy's favorite word, isn't it? I remember them saying that when I was a kid. Now I know they were talking about their father. How do you folks feel about Syngman Rhee? Just in case you don't know, he was the first president of South Korea from 1948 to 1960. I think he is a wonderfully courageous old man, and I heartily respect his integrity. Whether we Americans like his views or not, he's certainly serving his own people and country to the very best of his ability. Probably the Harrisburg Telegraph carries this column by Stuart Alsop, but just in case you haven't read it, I'll pass it along. Please save it for me somewhere. Thank you. Since you guys are going out with the instructions for Christmas, here are a few for you. When you get a package from Reading, PA, or thereabouts, mailed by Peggy's friend Anne, don't you dare open it. If you do, you'll be disappointed at Christmas time because we combined our funds and there are no other small boxes in the regular Christmas boxes for you. Be good now. I was so glad to hear about your visitors and your excursion to Altoona. Sounds like a lot of fun. I do get most anxious and very homesick for Marky and Marlene. They will be too big by the time I see them again. I finally answered Barbara's letter about 2 weeks ago, and today I received another one from her. So I'm proud of her. I'm so proud of her I could bust. Doesn't it seem like she's doing a mighty fine job of being a wife? She's number one with me. Ronnie is doing very well for himself in the service. After being around so many service kids over here, I can appreciate the effort it takes to not be a slacker or drifter, but to work at something and really get your rating. They're really good kids. Peg and I both got a laugh about the episode of Daddy and the Gas Man. My father is quite a character. Maybe that is why we all love him. I had mail from Miriam and also from Sam Sheridan today. They both mentioned the extra special weather you people are having. Such beautiful, mild autumn days, it seems hard to think about snow and shoveling cars out, etc. The ratio of action to idea hasn't changed much between Peg and I. I bought silk shantung about 2 months ago, and only today made arrangements to have it made into something. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, she bought 2 pieces of material. At this sitting, one is finished and ready to wear, and the other would be too, except for a small alteration to the zipper. That's characteristic of us, no? Oh well, wouldn't it be dull for you two if we were exactly alike? As it is, I'd like to be a mouse sometime, or perhaps a podcast listener, and compare our letters. Variety is the spice of life, I hear. I hate to waste the rest of this paper, and Aunt May used to always give me heck if I stopped writing to her before the paper was entirely covered. But actually, I have nothing more to say at this moment, and it's a wise woman who knows when to shut up. Love, Bern. Letter 55, also from Bern, written the 24th of November, 1953. While you folks are looking at snow, melted and unmelted, we are still enjoying beautiful fall weather. Sunday was warm but extremely windy in intervals from reading and cleaning out my writing table drawer. Yes, Father, I still managed to collect junk. I was fascinated by the shaking and swaying of the big pine tree immediately outside my window. At one time, several sparrows were sitting on the branches getting a free ride. Did I tell you that in one book about Japan, the author stated that the pine, plum, and bamboo were the 3 companions of man? Evidently, the cherry tree is just a temporary toy to be enjoyed for its beauty, but too much of a featherweight to contribute to the development of the manly character so important to the Japanese. The country in this immediate area is lush with pines, and on various side trips, I had seen bamboo growing, but the plum tree and I are still unacquainted. Zama is probably surrounded by them, and I'm too unagricultural to notice and recognize them. Peg, I'm sure, has already told you about our picture-taking hike on Saturday and our visit to the Eastern Star chapter. I enjoyed both very much and will probably be forwarding some of the pictures in the next letter. You will probably be glad to hear that the new chaplain thus far has proved to be a much better speaker than the last one. He had a very good sermon on St. Paul last Sunday. The name is Chaplain Morse. I recently found out that the Lutheran service is held every Sunday at 9 a.m. by Chaplain Leverance, but it is of the Missouri Synod, so I don't see much point in attending. Might as well continue going to the regular chapel service. However, he is to be the speaker at the Thanksgiving Day morning service, so I'll probably hear him then. Daddy, for your information, we both read each other's letters from home, so I heard what you said about me. What makes you think there's anything wrong? Let me see. To date, I had had one real bad cold, which I recovered from in a much shorter time than any other cold I've ever had. I went home from work early on the day before Armistice Day, stayed in bed, dosed myself with APCs, Bengay, that's wonderful stuff, and tea. And I stayed in bed until noon of Armistice Day, got up feeling good as new. Just for your information, APC was a pill that contained aspirin, acetaminophen, and caffeine together. So they had that in 1953. That is something of a world record in cold recovery for me. Oh yes, I do have another ailment. Both my legs are well spotted with scars from booyah bug bites. This critter, booyah bug, anyway, this critter must somewhat resemble a tick. They are found in and around grass and weeds. The bite becomes very red in a short amount of time and often swells and becomes hard and sore. However, with the exception of 2, I had discovered them right away and been able to prevent any pain. The only bad feature of the whole business is the fact that they leave a discolored scar for quite a long time. My legs, being far from my best feature anyway, really look a mess. Someone at the office gave me a bottle of 612, which is an insect repellent. By the way, that was banned in 1991. And now when I go to play golf, yes, that is where I acquired all of them, I am well provided for. Anyhow, the golf lessons are worth it. I'm fast becoming a rabid fan. I'd like to play every day. Now, Papa-san, do you feel better since you have something specific to worry about? And you're the one who used to tease Aunt May about being a worrier. I'm surprised at you. Helen, do you like Margaret Runbeck as an author? I've just finished reading Time for Each Other, a very warm, touching story of home life. If you have read her other story, Our Miss Boo, about her 4-year-old daughter, you'll be certain to enjoy this one as well. Get someone to look for it at the library. I certainly don't like this business about your leg. It seems to be taking a long time. Much as you seem to be enjoying the nights out at Tom's, are you sure they're really doing any good? For the readers, Tom is Helen's nephew, son of her older brother, Chester. He was, I think, a physical therapist or some kind of medical professional. My maternal grandmother had polio and was in an iron lung in the 1940s. She always credited Tom with helping her regain the ability to walk because he never gave up and he didn't let her give up. He was pretty tough on her, I heard. But he earned the respect and love of a lot of my family. Maybe you should be investigating some other form of treatment. I know how irksome it must be to be hustling you and have to slow down and curtail your activities. Maybe that's why you have to put up with it, so you will slow down. Better learn to live with it and ease your nerves a bit. The dressmaker came last night and fitted the wine-colored silk on me. She's doing a really good job. The skirt has a delightful swing to it. Not too much, just right, and the rest fits really well. When she brought it, it was a little tight, but she had wide seams everywhere, so that will be easily remedied. No, I'm not putting on weight, staying just the same. Although with all the French fries and other wrong foods, it's a major miracle. By the way, I've seen a picture of Bern in that dress, and it was lovely. If the dressmaker returns the pictures of the dress, I will send it to you next time. Oh, yes. While we were talking about me, I'm wearing my hair a different way. It's parted on the left side now with just a few side bangs. People comment on it favorably. I think I like the old way better, but this is a change, and you know how we gals do need a change once in a while. Let me talk to you about my boss. Her name is Mrs. Cartmel. She was married for some time to an Englishman and has lived in several places in the tropics. I think both her children were born in the British West Indies. Her daughter recently graduated from college, and her son is in high school, both of them in the States. By the way, she is now divorced. Actually, she's more than a little snobbish, mentioning people's background and such statements as, "We just don't know people like that," giving it the haughtiest tone imaginable. However, she's nice to me. I've been in her room several times to chat. She's eaten with me occasionally, and once in a while, she comments favorably on something that I wear. She likes the green gabardine suit very much. Truly, she's lovely to work for, and I'm not telling you these things maliciously, but merely by way of description. It is surely an interesting world with millions of different people in it, no two alike. But anyhow, in case you ever sat down and seriously worried about whether you gave us kids a proper background, stop fretting. If Mrs. Cartmel is willing to be seen with me, I must pass at least some of the social tests. Her attitude is a new one for me to observe, and sometimes I'm quite amused, because most of the time the things which are important to her don't even enter my mind when I meet people. Actually, this has been a busy day, and I've got work left over for tomorrow, but one of the joys of this job is the fact that there's no pressure about it. I am free to work at my own pace, so today I snuck time out for you two. Give my love to Blondie and tell me all about your Thanksgiving Day. Love, lots of love, Bern. P.S. Hope you received my money order in the last letter. I just want to stop for a minute and tell you how much letter 55 surprised me. It showed a different side of Bern than I ever knew. I always considered her to be practical, organized, on top of things. But clearly she was a lot more romantic. The idea that she was distracted by a beautiful tree and birds swaying in the wind was my number one surprise, even though I knew how much she loved nature. I loved how she wrote that. Okay, it's time for letter 56. Peg wrote it the 22nd of November, 1953. Dear Mother and Daddy, imagine me, another Sunday, and I'm spending it in camp. It's a lovely day, rather windy, but the sun's out, and it's not that cold. In fact, a lot of girls wore suits to church this morning. And she includes a program from the church service. I'll start with last Wednesday. Monday and Tuesday nights I stayed in. Wednesday, Bern, Mary, and I went to Yokohama Engineer Depot Officers Club to play bingo. We all despised the game, but the jackpot was $1,000, and the junior jackpot was a set of golf clubs. Both Mary and Bern are getting to be friends over the game and wanted to win the clubs. Naturally, none of us won anything, not even a little game. Thursday, Bern and I went into Yokohama. We both took the afternoon off, and it was so good to get out of the office. We went to Madomachi and got our pearl earrings. Then we went to the PX and I bought a pair of shoes. We shopped leisurely and looked at everything. Then we met Velma and had supper. After that, the three of us went to an Eastern Star meeting. Ain't you surprised? Bern and I both passed the examination, but Velma hadn't been to a meeting for 13 years, and she couldn't remember enough of the stuff. The meeting itself was a disappointment. Of course, with so many people never knowing how long they'll be here, it's difficult to get well-organized groups. The floor work was pretty sloppy. The most worthy grandmother is going to visit Japan sometime in the near future, and I sure hope they brush up their work before then. By the way, the name of the chapter is Star of the Orient, Yokohama. The two things that impressed me most were the eats. They were delicious. Sandwiches, pie, cookies, fruit salad, candy, and Mother, they do it all on $20 for 2 months. There were only about 50 people there, so I guess that's why they can feed them so good. The second thing was that all the smokers lit up cigarettes right after the meeting. I like that. Of course, there were men at the meeting too. The people were pretty nice, and Bern talked for a while to a lady from Millersburg, Pennsylvania. Friday night, I had a date with a master sergeant who works in my office. It wasn't too interesting because all he did was gripe about the Army and mostly about how much he hates Sama. Yesterday, Bern and I walked all the way down to the dependent housing area around Sagamihara. It was quite a long walk, but the weather was lovely and we enjoyed it. Bern took a lot of pictures on the way, and I know she'll send some to you. And then we stopped in to see a girl that Bern works with, and we had buns and coffee. I had tea. Last night, she and I went to the club for dinner and stayed a while for the floor show and dancing. Red Dog is due back from Misawa, an Air Force base, today, so that's really the reason I'm sticking close to the phone. He probably won't call me until next week, though. We went to church this morning. The chaplain who's there now is pretty good, and we enjoyed it. I had my hair cut and thinned on Thursday. She removed about a bushel of hair. It's pretty messy right now, but it will be okay after I wash it. Bern had a manicure so she could show off her ring to its best advantage. The job is still pretty dull, but somehow I managed to put up with it. I'd never keep it, though, if I were back home, but work's only secondary to us over here. The main interest is going places and doing things. I haven't heard or talked with anyone who actually likes their job, so I'm not alone. One day I was griping to Colonel Van Tool about the rumor that they were going to start charging us room rent. He told me if they do, I should come and live with him and Sugar-san, which is what he calls Mrs. Van Tool. His son is over here too, but he's leaving in April or sometime around there to go home via Europe. The Colonel and Mrs. VT are leaving in June. So he said they'd have room for me and that I should put my feet under their table. I really don't think he meant it, but it was a nice gesture, wasn't it? I really like that man. Dottie Edwards left on Thursday. No one has taken over her job yet, and no one's saying anything about it. After I'm finished with Ann's job, they'll probably tell me to take over that job. But they're sorry they can't pay me any more money because of the economy program. I don't really care because I'm not in the least interested in making a career out of civil service. Gad, not that. Sis sent me some pictures of them, some pictures of the kids in their kimonos. Aren't they cute? Well, that's about all the news for this time. Tomorrow, I'll probably get my weekly letter from you. Mother, I just happened to think, Sis said it sure was funny to see Mom limping around. Now, how about you just telling us how bad that knee is? Have you gone to the doctor or are you just taking treatments? Daddy, don't you dare give away any hints about the Christmas gifts. Sis said that you wanted to give her some clues. It's only a month, so just don't, please. Is Blondie still full of pep when you go for car rides? Love, Peg. P.S. Did you send the addresses yet? Well, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. And if you are, please subscribe in Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Hit the plus button in the top right-hand corner and rate. This will help my listeners find my podcast more easily. You can access the show's website at www.FromMcClayToZama.com, where I have posted photos from each episode, and I will continue to update those. The podcast is now available on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Patreon, and Amazon Music as well. This is the final episode of season 1. I'm going to take a little vacation, work on the website, and start thinking about what I want to teach a new batch of 8th graders in August. The podcast will be back with season 2 on July 26th. New episodes will be out every Friday morning. And I hope you have a great week.